like it for game 1. I'm not seeing any Tinker, I'm not seeing any Storm Spirit, I'm not seeing any... Oh, I'm not seeing anything.
I see a Witch Doctor, Cinderin.
Witch Doctor, that's true, that's one we brought up.
Who's under Ursa?
Sorry?
Who's under Ursa?
Ember Spirit. Oh, Ember Spirit is in!
Ooh,
yeah, we get an
nice.
Ember. Interesting. Yeah, of course, because he's in from the new version here, so... Thanks for asking that. Yeah, so it seems like the pattern is that the heroes that you don't see in the draft window on the left in your slot 1 are all the heroes that were added after Abaddon.
Team Liquid's turn to ban.
I'm not sure why. I should probably ask Valve about that, but I'm just...
weird, and I'm seeing them, so at least I can always tell you what it is. That's something. But this should be really exciting. Fnatic and Team Liquid, both of them are currently 0-1 in the tournament, but at least they won a match against Alliance, both of them. Or not a match, a game, rather. So they have 1 point. And that means this match is really important for both of them, as it's going to put them in a much better position to towards that top 4. We're still early on in the round robin, but since each team only has 5 games, it's really important to make it count. And I guess we should mention so far, these teams are, like we said, tied in 4th place. The only team below them is Rock's Kiss with their 0-2 record with 0-4 games.
Rock's Kiss. Boy,
oh boy. Rock's Kiss, because they could have so easily had another score than that. They had 2 games that were practically won, and that they ended up losing respectively against Na'Vi and Sigma respectively, so really unfortunate for them. But let's look at the game at hand. We've got Liquid with a first pick Warlock. Okay.
Chaotic offering all day, every day. Well, something I do have to mention, there is no Clockwork and there is no Timbersaw for, I think, the first time ever.
That's true.
I have to actually look back just to make sure I'm not an idiot, but it's pretty... Maybe one game being an anomaly, but this is probably it. But yeah, Warlock is, for whatever reason, has been very highly valued in this tournament. And this is the first, like we've been seeing him 4th or 5th picked. Now this is a first pick, which would indicate most likely a mid solo for Team Liquid.
I think the reason they're picking him so early is that there's not that many strong mid laners here, and that's kind of Warlock's main weakness as a hero in the lane, is that he doesn't really dominate so well against many of the good mid heroes. He can't harass too well. Fatal Bonds can be nice in some cases, especially against melees, but he's easily gankable, he's pretty fragile, he doesn't push the lane too well for rune control, but in the right hero pools, he suddenly becomes a lot stronger because the classic dominating mids aren't really there. The only one that really comes to mind is Templar Assassin, perhaps Shadow Fiend, but a lot of other mid heroes just aren't available in this pool. And I was imagining that Witch Doctor would be picked up really early. When you look at the support pool, there's really not that many amazing choices. So Witch Doctor gets first picked by Fnatic.
Jakiro as well.
A good rating with it. Yeah, and Jakiro's there too, which I believe they played in the same game. They played Witch Doctor and Jakiro as their 2 supports in the game they won against Alliance. They are going to get the Lifestealer first though, which is no big surprise. Era is one of the best players on this hero, just hands down. And
I guarantee you they were trying to decide between the Lifestealer and Jakiro, and well, they end up going the carry, like you talk about Era. Very familiar with that hero, to say the least. Team Liquid picking up next. But yeah, you're right. There's not many mid heroes here. Shadow Fiend, there's Night Stalker. I mean Razor, I guess, depending on who you're going up against, which in this case might be a Warlock. But as expected, Jakiro is picked up, but this time by Team Liquid. And, okay,
easily imagine an Ember Spirit coming
I was going to say Ember Spirit I expect to come out. What I'm hoping for, even though I can't stand the hero, I kind of want to see an Omni Knight game.
Fnatic's turn to pick.
I love that hero so much. I really hope we get it. And it could be a potential setup for Team Liquid. Now, the one problem with Omni Knight you always face is if you play him as a support, apart from a few cases, he's kind of not that strong as a support. His main strengths as a support, in lane, he's an amazing support in the mid game, don't get me wrong, but you need to get through the laning stage first. His main weakness there is, unless if he has a carry, he can really use the on to great effect. It's often a disappointing performance we get to see out of Omni Knights, but with the right setup, it can be doable. And I feel like Team Liquid has a lineup right now that could benefit greatly from the Omni Knight, because they are teamfight oriented. They have the Warlock as well as Jakiro, now they're going to get the Earthshaker as well after Fnatic picked up the Light as well as Ember Spirit, so these picks are obviously going fast as both teams are running out of time.
Indeed.
And Liquid have to make their last choice solo now.
5
And-
seconds
I really
remaining.
like their tri lane. Jakiro, Razor, Earthshaker, all long range.
And
It's gonna
be
Pretty nice.
Ooh.
Ursa, wow.
Fnatic's turn
What are
to
the lanes
pick.
I've
gonna be
countered to
now?
Lifestealer.
Oh!
And there we go.
God, I'm so good! So
No,
good.
You've been wrong one time, right? You're not wrong because you're not calling out that something's going to be picked. You always. But I think the match on this Tuesday, you didn't get what you wanted in one of the games,
Yeah.
but you get Omni Knight. Oh man, this is fantastic. And what I really like about this pick from Fnatic is that you could say they're running a fountain lineup. I like to call it that when you have Omni Knight and Keeper of the Light together, because it's, and you even
That's
have
true.
Witch Doctor. It's like a walking fountain. Wherever you are completely sustainable. If Liquid don't kill the heroes, they can reinitiate after 10 seconds. They heal up, they get the mana back from Keeper of the Light, they have the Witch Doctor heal as well, they can reinitiate with Repel. My concern for them is Repel has kind of poor
10
synergy with
seconds
Lifestealer,
remaining.
but I think it's really great for Ember Spirit. Be a challenge for Liquid. Control the Ember Spirit, I think, of Trixie here. Because they don't have that much against him. They don't have any instant silence. The only reliable stun they have is Fissure, unless you want to count Chaotic Offering as a reliable stun.
Prepare
So
for battle.
I feel like this is an incredible Ember Spirit game, and if Liquid aren't careful, I think Trixie can just completely go out of control in this matchup.
You were talking about the fountain in respects where you get a lot of mana and health. Do you remember the days in Dota 1 where you could destroy the fountain?
Yeah.
Omni Knight and Alchemist were the two most important heroes for that strategy, and that's for whatever reason. Whenever Omni
I
Knight's
think
picked,
Crystal Maiden as well, right?
Crystal
You
Maiden.
could frostbite the fountain in Dota 1. Yeah.
Really?
And it
Oh, I
lasted
didn't
as
know
long
that.
as it does on creeps, I believe.
Interesting.
That was
I know
that was the
Chronosphere
main
still
hero for the
works
interaction.
on the fountain, but you can't unfortunately
Yeah.
attack it, which is needs to be fixed. Obviously, it's game-breaking mechanic that we come across all the time. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to everybody that's bought a ticket and is watching the
30
MLG stream right
seconds
now.
to battle.
It's a $20,000 base prize pool, which is insanely at 35,000 plus at the moment, which is over what I was hoping for to start the tournament, and we kind of have to like change our goals now, which personally my goal is to double the prize pool to 40k by the end of this tournament, which I think is very feasible at its current stage.
We've got a lot of support, and people have really been very positive about the tournament so far, so it's really great. This is
The
what we were
battle
hoping for, that the
begins.
mode and the teams playing the mode combined would be something out of the ordinary, and people have been very supportive with it so far, so it's really cool to see, and yeah, a big thanks from me as well, of course, for all the support we've been given in the tournament now. Let's have a look at the lanes here, because this is interesting what Fnatic have chosen to do. They're going to run Keeper of the Light on Fly together with Trixie's Ember Spirit up top, and they're going to run a dual lane mid with Lifestealer and by Era and Witch Doctor by No-Tail. And finally, Hani will be playing the off lane for Fnatic as Omni Knight. And what's interesting about this is that before the game we were talking about how Liquid are swapping around their lanes depending on who plays the heroes, but Fnatic are doing exactly that thing right now. Hani almost exclusively plays mid for them in Captain's mode, but in this game he's going in the off lane, so really interesting to see that.
And he got probably the best rune you can start with, although he doesn't last that long. His Fly is going to get fissured. Is he going to get blocked? He uses his Tango. This might be a first blood already. Trying to get away a nice searing chains, but no. First blood goes the way of Liquid so quickly. And again, Ember Spirit's not a hero that I think I've seen one game with him currently, which he was picked like the first day he came out. But either way, not exactly sure how he's usually lanes. Are you familiar at all? Because again, completely new here. I don't even know the names of his skills, for God's sake. I know what they do, but
We've seen him in the easy lane mostly, but he's also a pretty good mid laner in my opinion. It's actually one of my favorite heroes, so I'm pretty familiar with it at least. So I can show you the range
Excellent.
with the searing chains, Mang.
wow, that's so good.
All right, that was terrible. Wait, I don't think we've talked about Liquid's lanes exactly just yet. So they're going to be playing an Ursa bottom, played by TC against the Omni Knight right now, together with Way2's Jakiro. Then in the mid lane we've got Bulba on the Warlock, and that means on the top lane it is Fluff on his Earthshaker, together with
Radiant's top
Koikva on the
tower is
Razor.
under
And
attack.
this is, this is the perfect example of what we were talking about before the game. Koikva has some really trademark heroes that he loves to play that are very active generally, but he can play any type of these solos, and Razor is also one in his repertoire, which is completely different from what we often see him playing, which is something like Tenka Storm Spirit, those more intel-based ganking style heroes.
I'm surprised we're not. I was actually expecting the tri-lane, because that is a one long-range tri-lane. But again, when you pick the Ursa, which was a last-second pickup, obviously, since it is Captain's Draft. You don't have too much time to pick. They had to change up the lanes quite a bit from what I was expecting. I mean, you can't really put an Ursa in the jungle with a tri-lane top, because then that just leaves a lane completely open. So they had to do something, but either way. Oh, Koika stealing some damage from Ember Spirit. No fissure to come though, just used, as Fly is gonna pass a little light in Fluff's face. Not too much damage to come at this point in the game though. Hani though,
Ooh,
this
there
is...
it goes.
It's like I'm casting with Reeves all of a sudden. What is this?
Yeah. Oh, he does coddle impressions too. I'm sorry. So that can't be my thing then.
Yes, I think it's patented at this point.
All right.
But I want your opinion on Hani, who is playing this Omni Knight bottom. I mean, he is level 3, which is surprising that he can survive in this lane. I guess a lot of the pulling is gonna... I think the Invis rune was pretty much what gave him the first couple levels, but regardless, that is a weird lane to see this, to say the least.
I think the focus point here for Way2 is he thinks Hani has Repel, so he can't even be bothered with ganking him, because he feels like it's going to be a waste of time compared to just pulling and getting levels for himself, and then they're going to have to sacrifice a bit of experience by giving Hani some levels here. But interestingly enough, he hasn't put a point in Repel, and I'm sure Way2 is expecting that, so he's not trying the gank, because else I think they could actually kill Hani right here if they come in. And actually, TC might be doing it himself. He's doing a lot of damage. Face boots already now.
Oh my God.
Needs one more hit. He's gonna clean him up. Playing melee against Ursa, let me tell you something. This is a nightmare for almost every melee hero in the game.
I think that he saw that there was a degen aura active, so he's like, okay, maybe he didn't get anything in Repel, because he did use his purification against, it was against Jakiro, so they could tell it was a level 2, and they see the degen aura, so no Repel to come out for Hani. And of course, this isn't the most typical hero ever that you're going to see in a 1v2 situation, but yeah, you're right, it's not the greatest of matchups, generally speaking.
Now, this is when it gets surprising for me, because Hani took Degen Aura again, and I think Repel would be a great choice. I think his main concern though is that, unless if he levels up the Degen Aura enough, Ursa is going to be able to run him down. But if he doesn't have the 1 point in Repel to remove the Earth Shock, I still think TC can lock on him and just solo him all the time, because he's leveling up Earth Shock. It's a 45% slow, 6-second cooldown.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
bye bye.
Lots of damage coming out. The Maledict was even used, not really technically needed, but would have ensured the kill regardless. But you're right, Hani. I mean, we're talking about brown boots with degen aura, but phase boots already up on Ursa, so he's gonna have, even with the degen, he's gonna have some trouble getting away from him. But one level in Repel.
Attack speed slow. The attack speed slow from Degen Aura is irrelevant here. That's the thing as well, because Ursa will always get max attack speed by using that overpower. So it's the difference the aura makes here. I don't think is good enough to not get 1 point in Repel. And what I'm worried about here for Hani, it's 14% instead of 7, which, I mean, a 7% extra slow, don't underestimate it, but TC has a 6-second cooldown, 45% slow, and a phase boots advantage. I think if he wants, he can always stay on Hani. He's gonna need support to not get dived here. So I feel like this can make sense for Hani right now. I'm not gonna say it's a terrible choice, but I feel like whenever you play Omni Knight, the Repel is such an amazing mid-game ability, and not only to have on level 1, but to have on the higher levels, because it does get that extra 2-second duration per level, and on level 4 the duration is almost the same as the cooldown, so you can kind of keep it running constantly. That's just such an amazing ability, and with the pace Hani's getting levels at, and the fact that you generally want to max purification, we're looking at a max Repel at like level 10 or 11 or 12, unless if he sacrifices his ultimate, which I really don't think you should do either.
That's not going to happen. But then again, we never see Omni Knight in the side solos. So, anything's possible, as we keep saying, as we keep alluding to, in this Captain's Draft tournament. Koikwa. The thing is, I never had problems with his name before.
The Q's are pronounced like K's. It's really easy. Koikwa.
Well, it's really the middle part that, like, in fights, it really messes with me. I don't know why. It's like I'm having a stroke every time I try to say his name, but we'll just continue to call him whatever the hell I want. As right now the top farmer is the Ursa at the bottom, which is no big surprise, 37 and 12. Lifestealer mid, 13 for Era, and then it drops off quite a bit on the top as Razor is in 3rd place. And this, I'm surprised we haven't seen a little, even though it is only 6 minutes in, this top lane has just so many opportunities for kills that I'm surprised we haven't been seeing a little bit more there, as Era's going to pick up this regen top.
Now, I feel like perhaps we should talk a little bit about Ember Spirit, because this is a hero we haven't been seeing that much in competitive play. So, just quickly running over what he does, he's kind of a burst carry who has very short cooldown on his burst, so it's like, can you even talk about sustaining burst? Because technically that's kind of what he does. His Flame Guard is particularly strong in the early game before magic damage starts being really significant, so he can keep that running. And then he roots his target with the Searing Chains and is very, very highly mobile, which is why you would often see silencers or stuns picked up against him, but he was picked fairly late in the draft, and Liquid didn't have too many options. So even though they're off to a good laning start, I feel like Trixie, with his high mobility and damage that he can bring out from this hero, could easily have a high impact, as in mid, Era is going to get really ganked here. 4 heroes on him, and he's going to survive. But Trixie TP's in.
You're blocking them on the wrong side, unfortunately. Trixie's here to support. All he really does is take a bunch of damage. Not the way that Liquid was looking. I mean, they had the setup. They were baiting Nyx or Lifestealer very, very nicely, actually. Just the fissure on the wrong side for Fluff. As that's a big investment. We have 1 TP for Fnatic, but that is a huge investment as far as experience and time is concerned. For Liquid, everybody was mid, essentially.
Use the chaotic offering as well.
Yeah, true.
And they didn't bring him down. But now he's farming the jungle with way 2 with it, so at least they're getting that out of it. Can tank up the camps and give him a little bit of levels here. But yeah, kind of big investment there for Liquid that didn't work out. And
lane, Cask, is it going to bounce one more time? Nope. And that is going to ensure the survival of Ursa. And I mean, we've seen Witch Doctor do so well in this tournament, but alas, in Captain's Mode, one of the main reasons he's not picked up, at least for the early stages, his Cask isn't the greatest, only bounce. And of course, a lot of it is RNG based, which at the end of the day, teams try to avoid at all costs, unless you're Chavost or somebody that just loves
and unless you like
dice.
Chaos Knight.
Yeah, of course. Chaos Knight's all RNG. And actually, it's funny that they changed some of his abilities to make it even more RNG in the last year or so.
Yeah, that's true. The idea of the hero, so it makes sense, and at least they recently balanced out the way the damage and stun works, so that if you get a high stun, you get low damage, and if you get low damage, you get high stun.
I think that's the main reason he is.
Just say the same thing twice?
I don't know. Well, I know what you're trying to say, but I think that's the main reason he's kind of dropped off, to be perfectly honest, is because of that change. Among the changes from Wisp, of course. Big nerfs.
Yeah. His best friend.
Yeah.
Liquid are trying to set something up here at the bottom with Earthshaker to try to get a blocking Fissure off, and if he manages to lock Honey on the lane, Ursa's gonna kill him. There's no way out for Honey. He does have a TP scroll, so technically if he does use Guardian Angel, goddammit phone, then...
I hear a phone in the background. What is this, Cinderin? Production quality, man. God.
Sorry, there's no phone here. It was a malfunction in our amazing studio. Yes.
Sure, you don't have a merry-go-round in your house?
It does sound like a merry-go-round, doesn't it? Oh well. Alright, the phone has been dealt with and taken to another room.
Dagger on TC. Look for him to start ganking. I mean, typically you want to get a little bit more like...
I have a look at mid first though. Era going on Koitron. There's the Cask. He is done for, I think. Illuminate even over the top. More than enough here.
2 Maledict to boot as well, so more than enough damage for him. Liquid's
He's prioritizing that again on the Witch Doctor. Now up to level 3.
1-1-3. I don't know. I mean, depending on how your casks go, I guess it's not that big of a deal. And I mean, No-Tail is pretty professional, so what can I say? I do like the higher levels in cask overall. As top lane, I barely got there in time. Trixie taking out Earthshaker with that sleight of fist. And I'm going to have a lot of trouble with the names on Ember Spirit skills, but you're right about him. A lot of burst damage, but at the same time, he can really carry. And I think the greatest thing about him is he scales so well into late game. Once you get items like either like a Battle Fury or Mjolnir or something like that, it's kind of like no risk, all reward situation where you have all this range with Sleight of Fist, and you're pretty much risking nothing by using it.
He's kind of a special carry in the sense that he is incredibly strong in the early game and incredibly strong in the late game. And then he has this spot in the middle where he's not as good, but still, in my opinion, a solid hero, but really peaks around this time when he's got his level 8 to 11, basically. That's when he's insanely strong. And then when we get to the late game, and he starts having 2 or 3 damage items with Sleight of Fist, he just packs a punch every 6 seconds with that ability, and is, in my book, one of the 3 best, I guess you could say, carries at defending the base simply, because pushing into we didn't talk about that yet, but pushing into Fnatic's base is going to be really difficult.
That's true.
They have Sleight of Fist, they have the Cask, and everything about Omni Knight is just hard to initiate into, to be honest. So Fnatic, good defensive lineup in that regard. You're going to TP bottom. Oh, Way2's in so much trouble. Nice purification coming out from Honey.
And this is going to be a denied tier 1 tower bot, so nice TPs from
bottom tower has been denied.
Trixie in a 1v2 situation top.
That's going to be hell breaking loose up top right now. Trixie's going for it.
Bulba's here, has the chaotic offering. We're seeing the Sleight of Fist used. Fly taking a lot of damage. He's going to go down to raise the right click as Fluff tries to run away with all his might. But really, it's Trixie that's in the sandwich that he doesn't want to be a part of. The pastrami sandwich, delicious but kills you in the end. So he's running away.
Delicious but poisonous.
Because Hani pops his ultimate. Absolutely, which I already talked about because you completely ignore everything I say, but it's okay. TC doing as much damage as possible. Hani's ultimate is going to avoid a lot of that damage, obviously, because of that ridiculous armor. That's a great counter to TC.
Like, use it with the fact that you definitely talked about the Blink Dagger when the phone was ringing. It has to be the reason.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with that. Oh, deny!
Okay,
wow.
I said it last time on our cast, I think. We always get one amazing deny, and we do it again today. I think maybe the last series didn't have one, but every other series has had these kind of absurd tower denies from some sort of support or ranged hero. Time around it's No-Tail. It's kind of funny that it seems to happen in every single game of a tournament so far. No-Tail's going to turn on Koikra here. Nice Maledict as well as Ward. I think Koikra will survive this, and now turnaround is coming.
Tealon and No-Tail going to keep him alive. The Maledict not going to be enough to kill Koikra. If the Illuminate hit, I think that would have been a kill, but just barely out of range.
I think that's the main thing. He had 15 sticks, I believe, and the great way of counteracting the Maledict from ticking you down is healing up in between.
Initiating onto Fluff, but he already used his Searing Chains, which of course I have to check the names for. You're going to have to forgive me. He's way too new for me to memorize these names. But, I mean, that's obviously a good counter. As long as he initiates... It's kind of like Void. I mean, it's not a stun with Void, but either way, it's a mini stun. Once he uses it, you can TP away no problem.
It's true. It's the one lockdown that Ember Spirit has, and therefore sometimes need to be a little bit patient with. I guess a good comparison is Night Stalker with the Void ability, because the moment he uses Void on you, you know you can TP out, and it's the same for Ember Spirit with the Searing Chains. So sometimes when you're going for these pursuits, just using your mobility, you have the Fire Remnant ultimate, you have the Phase Boost. It's more than enough to just stay on your target and hang on to the Searing Chains until it's absolutely necessary to use them. So I'm not sure if Trixie could have got that kill by waiting a bit. It's definitely something for him to think about when he's going for these one-on-one chases.
Keep in mind, with Ursa building towards a Vlad's now, if he was on Dire, he would have gone Vlad's before Blink, I'm pretty sure, because of the Roshan advantage, but as a result, will not be able to do that, at least not yet. In fact, that first Roshan kill is going to be pretty big, I feel like, and Fnatic's in a pretty good position to defend it, as their tier 1 mid is still up and healthy for the most part. Well, Era's going to find Fluff, who has a double damage. Is that going to do any good for him? It doesn't look like it's going to be the case. The Rage going to ensure no stun coming out for Fluff, and that, in all likelihood, is going to break things up, although TC is going to find Era. Of course, we also didn't mention Ursa, an amazing counter to pretty much any strength hero, especially a Lifestealer. As he's going to walk right in the middle, he's going to take a cast to the face. Look at the physical damage coming from No-Tail. I think really the cast set that up, preventing the damage output from Ursa, at least at the beginning of the beginning stage of that engagement.
We get a trade-off up top. Ember Spirit does get brought down here by Warlock and the Jakiro here. Jakiro baiting, taking a lot of damage, and then eventually the Chaotic Offering gets dropped by Bulba, and does get them that kill. I think it's interesting to see Way2's skill build on Jakiro. We generally see Jakiros maxing out the Dual Breath and getting 1 point, or sometimes maxing Dual Breath and Ice Path. But he's getting 4 points in Liquid Fire, and I think it's a targeted pickup against, in particular, Lifestealer, who's going to be so crippled. And of course, if they want to push towers as well, having a level 4 Liquid Fire makes it so much easier with a 50% attack speed slow that has full effect on the towers.
I think ever since they nerfed, I don't know if you can consider it a nerf because it still does the same amount of damage basically, but Dual Breath not being instant damage is still kind of a nerf for the most part.
Ice Path got streamlined. It has 50 damage on all levels instead of scaling 25 per level, which is why you often see people getting it only on the first level, which it still scales really well in terms of how it's reduced in cooldown and increased in duration of the stun, but it's generally just used as a short setup for your other abilities, which you then prioritize because they deal a lot more damage.
Radiant's bottom
Since
tower
Ice Path
is
does
under
no more
attack.
damage per level anymore, then it's kind of agree with this skill build in most cases, but I still think a higher level of Ice Path against the
Radiant's
lineup of
bottom
Fnatic could be
tower
really
is
useful
under
because they
attack.
have a lot of heroes that need to get in close. Ember Spirit, Lifestealer, and arguably Omni Knight in some cases will want to get in close, and then a long duration Ice Path can really make a big difference in allowing Liquid, especially the Ursa, to get some much needed hits off.
I think, speaking of Ursa, I want to piggyback off of that a bit in terms of counters to the Lifestealer, because we also have a Razor.
Yeah.
And Static Link goes through Rage, like even if you pop Rage after it's been popped onto you, it continues. So in every single way it goes through BKB and Rage. So Era, in the mid to later stages of the game, is going to have trouble finding that damage output. And I think that's what's so important about Ember Spirit. And I think that this is the hero that needs to do well for Fnatic for them to be able to snowball into this
Dire's
game.
middle tower is under attack.
So, speaking of Ember Spirit, that's a good point. Whenever we have Lifestealer, we always think of a vessel, as I call it, a way for him to get into the fight when he infests. And Ember Spirit is a great choice. He has, you could say, innately has something similar to a Blink Dagger with the fire in it, which makes him travel really quickly. So he can be the transporter of Era, and even be a global transporter, which is interesting because Spirit can always jump his remnants from everywhere on the map. He's actually going to go on Way2 up here on top. I think Way2 is done for. Will die to a Sleight of Fist. He doesn't even need it. He's playing very confidently on his Jakiro up here on the top lane. Way out of position, to be honest. And a very easy pickup here for Trixie.
Lane, gonna have a little bit of an amalgamation of heroes, which people love it when I say that for some reason. Amalgamation. Do you like that word, Synderin?
Every word when it's from your mouth.
Yeah, I know. I really appreciate that. It makes me feel so good about myself. Era has the drums and armlet at the current moment, and we saw Ember Spirit did have the drums. Question is, what is he going to go for next? We've seen Battle Fury, we've seen Mjolnir, or at least a... Oh, actually bottom lane, Era. Is he going to get caught out by TC? Has the blink, but a ton of mana to speak of. Hani there, though, ensuring no kills will happen thanks to his ultimate, which is insane. We're talking about so many counters this game. Who's going to pick up the Diffusal Blade? Is it going to be Razor picking up a Diffusal Blade against that?
Sorry, open wounds. Bye-bye, Fluff. Easy kill here for Era. And at the same time, they also get the tier 1 top. I feel like Fnatic are gaining a lot more right now than Liquid. Even though it's a fairly even game as far as gold, it's starting to favor Fnatic a lot more in experience with about 3,000. Liquid just struggling to find some sort of reasonable pickoff moment.
That link's been used to pretty much no avail. So the question is, does Fnatic want to force something here? No-Tail and Trixie are going to smoke up top. Find anybody, at least not initially at that top lane. But is spread out pretty well.
I think it's fighting time for Liquid as well. They have such a great teamfight composition with Shaker, Warlock, etc. And now Koikva is going to get caught out instead, and this is going to be another kill. Probably going the way of Trixie with that Flame Guard, and it's... They're not finding a teamfight that they would like. It's Fnatic keep ganking them all over the place, especially with the Ember Spirit. And as long as Liquid don't gather up and get something done, I feel like Fnatic just... It's more a Fnatic type of game in here with their lineup. I feel like it favors them a lot more that teamfights don't break out, even though they have Omni Knight and Keeper of the Light. I still think this is Liquid's biggest chance, is to get these massive teamfights with their ults. But Illuminate gonna do work. Fluff is way too far in here with that fissure. It's gonna be kept alive now by the Nest,
a lot
though.
of damage. Yeah, Mech, we didn't really talk about Bulba picking up their chaotic offering, ensuring... Oh, Fluff is gonna go down to Trixie's ridiculous amalgamation of spells. As I said, amalgamation again. TC in the meantime is going to drop. It's a 2-for-0 exchange in favor of Fnatic. Koivka, the cockbuck, nice blocking by No-Tail. He's going to get his cast up. It's going to off in 1 second. There it goes. Era has open wounds. This should be enough damage to take out Koivka as well. That is a 3-for-0 in Fnatic's favor. Era just continuing to go balls deep. Of course, not only does he have rage, but a repel on top of that. That is going to be very difficult to deal with. Really only Razor. Well, I guess that's not true. Razor and Ursa can both deal with it. Either way. Still nice to have double BKB.
It's, for Liquid right now that I feel like they're having trouble finding a position for Razor to get into the fight together with Ursa. They were a little bit split up again here, and they didn't get into the fight on their terms with having to use all their abilities to basically keep Shaker alive for a little bit, and then he ended up dying anyways. He's got, oh, what a force staff by Hani! Wow!
I can finally say it today. Disgusting.
Amazing play by Hani there. The ward up on the high ground giving vision just there, and he forces him down the hill. That was beautiful, and now...
Bulba's realizing that a little too late. He's gonna get caught off guard. No pun intended, as Flame Guard is used. That's kind of a pun, I guess. As they're gonna clean him up and probably take this tier 1 mid as a result. So things spiraling out of control for Liquid, who rely on really Ursa so much. He has the Vlads, but he can't really go to Roshan. In fact, Fnatic might just do that now. Mention the force staff pickup on Hani. A nice initiation to get off, I mean, really, the initiation to get off a heal in some way or another, whether it's on himself or a teammate. It's going to help quite a bit. Just a little bit of mobility on Omni-Knight, because that's one of his major downfalls, is he has to be everywhere at all times. I mean, he's just so important for his team. Basically, all his spells are used to help his team in some way.
Force Staff is one of the core items on this hero, in my opinion. He can get a mech, but since that's already been picked up by Keeper of the Light, he doesn't have to do that. So we could see Hani getting a Blink Dagger as the next item, which I wouldn't disagree with either. Just more mobility, more flexibility in the fights, and ability to do whatever he needs to do. Like you say, this hero is pretty much his spells only. We have in pub games sometimes Omni-Knight is played as a carry because he can stay on his target with Degen Aura, but in essence he is a support even when played as a solo hero. So yeah, he's actually gonna go for Perseverance here, so might be looking at a Lincoln Sphere. As
pressure all the way. As
pressure.
No Tail's gonna catch. Oh,
that
nice.
Invis.
DD and Invis on No Tail just gets everything. Like, what is the deal with this guy? He owns all the runes apparently. This tier 1 tower is gonna go down one way or another, and it's gonna be the third denied tower. That is not something to scoff at for Fnatic. Three of their towers have been denied. That is a lot of gold that could have been going Liquid's way. But I did want to talk about Bulba picking up, and it's not like it's a bad pickup in the mech first, but from the games that we've seen in this tournament, Warlock has been going Aghanims first every single time, and he's been dominating every single time. Do you think that perhaps... I mean, I guess if you look at it, who else is going to get it? Because Earthshaker needs to get his Blink Dagger, which he's not very close to at this moment. And Jakiro is just a hard support, not going to have much farm to speak of regardless. So perhaps he had to
Razor could have got it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. As he's going for an Aghanim as well.
Actually a pretty good mech carrier, but Koika is going drums into the Ag Scepter here as well. And I have to say, I really like Liquid's lineup. I think they have a lot of potential to execute it, but it just hasn't been going their way so far, and I think the main issue for them has been the pickoffs. They've been picked off so many times that now that they finally get a teamfight in mid, it was at a disadvantage for them. If they get into an even teamfight, although they're about, let's see how much, 7,500 gold and experience behind, I still think they can win a fight. It's not such a big disparity that it's impossible for them to overcome, but it's getting there. And the Ag Scepter and Warlock can give them some sort of a comeback, especially if they get it on Razor too. But
I think Earthshaker picking up the Blink is the most important thing for Liquid right now.
Definitely.
I mean, like you're talking about, they have great potential, teamfight potential.
Oh, Fluff is going to get caught out by Era again, bashed, and 4 hits was all it took. He didn't even need the bash.
Going the SNY route, it's something we don't see as often anymore on the life stealer. They're going to run right into TC. He's going to get cast. Is this going to be enough damage with... Oh, that is way... not even close. TC just getting caught out of position when he knows that his teammate just died in that spot. Putting himself in weird position.
Stuck around there. That was very, very risky. They don't have any vision in their own jungle. Fnatic.
Oh my god! Top lane, Chaotic Offering wasted as Trixie uses his ult to get out just in time and just annoying the crap out of Koikla and everybody else. In fact, they can actually continue to initiate here. Koikla is going to take a drum charge, but is that going to be enough TP? One right click, Fly takes it. Jakiro does get out, but this is just, I mean, Liquid for the most part getting caught out of positioning. A really nice play by Hani baiting it. I thought he was the one being baited, but in fact, the tables were turned.
Fnatic's lineup. You can't tell there was a fight.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Really healed up. Yeah.
Seriously can't tell there was a fight. It takes them
full mana.
Only a few seconds to heal everyone up with the Omni-Knight Witch Doctor as well as the mana and mech from Keeper of the Light. Liquid just... It's getting really, really hard for them because not only... Oh wait, hang on.
I keep catching the tail end of things. because I'm awesome at this game. But Trixie,
Radiant's top
he does
tower
so much.
has
Like, he's not even
fallen.
going battle. He's not going for cleave. He's not going for any kind of proc items. Just going complete
Radiant's
damage.
middle
Desolator
tower
right
is under
now.
attack.
And I believe he just picked up a Chrysalis on the Courier. Yes. So, kind of a glass cannon build. I mean, he does have Flame Guard to prevent some magic damage, but he can get locked down
Radiant's
pretty easily.
middle tower
But
is
Love
again,
this build.
under
they're
attack.
just spiraling right now.
This is kind of, for me, the best build on Ember Spirit. I think, personally, the Battle Fury is overrated as an item. Because the way Ember Spirit
Radiant's
works is
middle
that he
tower
applies
has
the
fallen.
damage on the Sleight of Fist, and Battle Fury, while it's all great that it gives splash, how often are the enemy heroes going to stack up in a way so that you get to really benefit from the Battle Fury in a competitive game? It's more about hitting all the heroes individually once with the Sleight of Fist, and then get something that hits hard on each individual target. Desolator, very cost efficient in that regard, and Chrysalis can of course proc on the Sleight of Fist as well. So what I personally like to do myself when I play this hero is I like to get the drum face boost as well, like Trixie did, and then sometimes get the Desolator or just go straight into Daedalus, and sometimes even get 2 Daedalus. I guess that's the plural of that.
Cacti, Daedalus.
I guess it's Daedalus, right? Because on this, it's all about getting the crit on the Sleight of Fist, and if you have 2 of them, you increase your crit chance, so it's actually a really nice build, but we're gonna see if Trixie's gonna do that. He's gonna go for way 2 right now. Just lock it. Oh, goodbye. Jakiro. They didn't even try to fight
So
back.
much
They just
burst.
accepted the fate of way 2 there.
Yeah, well, they're really desperate for these items, like we talked about. Fluff, not really close at all to his blink. They're just gonna call it GG. Probably the right choice. It was just an inevitable thing. 19-4 in Fnatic's favor, so complete stomp. Although you're right,
Fnatic
Liquid had
victory.
potential to come back to a certain degree, but it's just maybe
Yeah.
it was just a little too late. They just didn't want to put the work in, perhaps.
I feel like they seemed a bit out of place in this game. It felt like communication wasn't really flowing, or that they weren't comfortable with the lineup that they had drafted or something, because Fnatic were just executing left, right, and center, and Liquid were always on the receiving end. We barely saw them even try anything. They tried one gank mid with the Warlock ultimate that failed. They got their first blood top with Razor and Earthshaker, which got them off to a good start, but then everything just stalled off, and Fluff getting caught out. I think he got soloed by the Lifestealer 5 times in this game or something like that. 4 probably.